Hi there, my name is Dolores Naskrent. Thanks for being a little bit curious and clicking on this course. So wow, strange times we're living in, eh? These past few weeks have been really trying times for people all around the world, and especially small business owners and artists like yourself. Priorities are definitely shifting for all of us. Kind of scary. I don't know about you, but some of my normal, regular revenue streams have kind of dried up. Yeah. I also have to make a decision about whether or not to keep my online store operating. It's time to pay the bill, and I haven't made the decision, honestly. There are lots of factors that go into a decision like that, and a bunch of stuff has changed in my life and in the life of my family. I'll let you know a little bit more about that later. It's kind of, let's just say it's a fluid situation right now. So now it's time to start getting creative. I know the goal for all of us artists, of course, is first and foremost to create art. But we need to start thinking really creatively. One of the things I've had on the back burner for a while is selling my art digitally. So I thought this will be a good time to do it. When I decided to do this, I thought to myself, this would be something that would be great to do together with other artists and get them going on this journey of having art available digitally on their website or on their Etsy store. If you haven't got either of those, this class is going to give you a side-by-side comparison of the two, and you'll get my opinions along the way. I know that all of you have tons of image files and lots that you can share and make money on too. If you've never considered selling digital products before, it may seem a little bit scary. So let's start with something you already have. That'll make it easier, and I will give you pointers along the way on how to save your digital files and have them ready for download. The whole point of my class here is to make this easy for you and therefore make it easy for your customer. We'll start with a general overview of what exactly is digital download and then how to make your digital files. And then we'll talk about the two main venues to sell your art: your own store like Shopify, WooCommerce, Big Cartel, and marketplaces like Etsy and Zazzle. I'll explain the differences between the two, and then we'll move right into the nitty-gritty of how to create the actual listing. We'll do an example from both a Shopify store and an Etsy shop. I'll explain the main differences between those outlets. I also want to touch briefly on how to protect yourself when selling digital goods. Okay, so I'll see you in lesson 1, where I'm going to give you an overview. All right, I'll see you there. Hey guys, welcome to lesson 1. In this lesson, what I want to do is give you an overview of the Shopify Digital Downloads app. All right? Okay, so let's just get right into the setup of the app. So the Digital Downloads app is free and it's available in the Shopify Downloads store. You can see I have it actually downloaded already, but I will walk you through that process. Click on the App Store button. You're going to search for Digital Downloads, and there are a few different ones available. This Shopify one is free and I've used it and it works. So why not use it? So you would click on digital downloads. You would add the app. In my case, I've already got it. It goes through all of its processing here. So you know you've got the app installed, and the next step is to go through and add a product. So I've got one ready to go. In the next few lessons, I'm going to show you how to prepare the product. You have to put in a title, you have to put in a description, then you're going to add a sample file or a way to show your customer what the product will look like. I like using Mockups because it helps the customer to visualize what their product could be used for. Then you're going to go through and add your pricing, and I'm going to explain all of these other steps as we work our way through the lesson. So here I'm going to drop in my description, try to make it catchy, something that describes your product. I'll probably go into more detail with this once I get myself organized. I'm going to actually use a CSV file in the end to upload all of my products, but just knowing that I was going to do this, I thought, why not share this with all of you out there, just in case it's something that you could do to fill your time and to add another revenue stream to your current income. The next step would be to add my mockup image. So in Photoshop, I've created this image. I've saved it as a JPEG. So I did a save as, and I've saved it here as a JPEG so that I can show you that little process quickly. In the upcoming lessons, I'm going to show you how to create all of these different things, all the steps that I go through, and how I create my mockups, and how you could create a mockup from scratch as well. So I'm going to go to my assets folder in my Skillshare class here and grab that JPEG that I created. Now this will be what the customer sees when they click on this particular product. Let me give you a quick look at my online store and I will show you exactly what that looks like. So this is my store landing page currently. This has to be updated because obviously my calendar now, we're into April, so probably doesn't need to be the main thing featured on my website. I've got links to a bunch of different things here, my blog, my Skillshare classes, that sort of thing. But I want to show you the digital downloads. So I'm going to just type in the word here, and here's one of my previously set up digital downloads. So let's click on that and you'll see, of course, the mockup is over here, the button to add it to their cart, that mockup example, and then here a good look at what the digital download is going to look like. All right, so that's what you're aiming towards. A nice description. Actually, like this, what I've got here, I'm going to add to that description I have just to flesh it out a little bit, give it a bit more information. And let's proceed with the steps here. You could put in your price compared to other digital downloads. I don't have any idea really what other people are charging. Let's say $5. Charge tax if you are set up to collect it. And really the only thing you need to worry about down here, you can track your inventory. I mean, technically downloading, you don't have a physical product. And this is important. You want to just check off this is a physical product. If you don't check that off, you won't have the option to add a digital download in the next step. And then this is how it's going to look in search engines. So if you wanted to make any changes here, you could edit. I'm going to hit save. And now this adds it to my products that I have available. So you're going to go under this More Actions tab, and that's where you're going to find the app for adding your digital attachment. Click on that. And that was interesting. So I was unable to open it, used to be able to open it in Safari, but now it looks like there's a conflict there. So I may have to open this up in Google Chrome or Firefox. So just hang on a second, I'll do that. Okay, back to the same spot. So we were going through this, and one of the things you want to do too is give a quantity of what's available. Otherwise it's going to show as unavailable because there are none. So I would put, I don't know, 500 or something. Doesn't matter what the amount is. You can always go in and change this. Not a physical product. Let's see. I think we're good here. I am going to click save, and now my product is available. It's in my products section here. If I was to put digital in, it would show you which of my products are available. And remember I said something here about the quantity and I forgot to change it on this one. So let's go in here and change the quantity to 500 and save. So that has updated, and now there are this many in stock. So you've got all the steps down. Now you know exactly what you have to do to add a digital product. Setting up your Etsy listing is very similar. The process is just slightly different, but the content is pretty much the same. You start by clicking on Add a Listing, and it takes you to this page, which is where you're going to upload your photos and enter all of your descriptive text and details. They've got some really helpful hints here about photographing your object. In our case, we're going to be using mockups, which I'm going to explain in one of the later lessons. But one of the things I really like about this is the ideas for different types of photos. We're going to end up doing what you'd call a styled scene, because that's what the mockup is. But I like that you can offer several different pictures of your work. Let's just say images, because this is where you could have different images like a square image or a vertical, rectangular portrait type image. And then you just kind of scroll on down here. You're going to add your title, information about your listing, descriptive text here. This spot is where it's important to change it to the digital file because that makes a difference for some of the other things you're going to put in here. Add your really good descriptive information about the product and then enter as many tags as you can think of and try to be specific. Looks like you get up to 13 here. Make sure you think about different ways that certain words could be interpreted or used. Remember things like dad, could be father, just as much as possible. Put as much detail as you can in here. I find that here in this materials section, it's good to list that it is a digital product. You'd be surprised how many people will make the mistake and assume that they're getting some kind of physical product sent to them. Then remember to increase your quantity here. Go for a really large amount because the next time it will get listed will be when this number runs out. Rather than set it at 10 and then have to pay an additional 20 cents every time it's relisted, just set it at a very high number. Now, as far as SKUs here, this is something that only you will see. I created a SKU system for my digital images, something like this. So Dell 2020-0143 is the artwork number. DD stands for digital download. And then 8 by 10 would be the proportion. The rest of it is fairly self-explanatory. You won't have to worry about the shipping since it's going to be a downloadable product. And then you can preview it, save it as a draft, or publish it. I like previewing it first just to be sure, and then hitting the publish button at the end. So basically the same setup as a Shopify store, and I'm sure it's very similar for other e-commerce sites like WooCommerce, Big Cartel, any of the other ones that you can think of. They probably have a very similar process. And that's pretty much it. I am going to also show you a few other things in the lessons that are coming up, and one of them is how to create a CSV file with all your products that you can import. So here would be the spot where you would import, and I have found that that's really the most efficient way for me to add new products, especially if I've got something like, 100 new products to add or 30 new products to add. Using a CSV file really speeds it up. If I wanted to download or export a CSV file to use as a template for producing the main CSV file, I would select the products, even if it's just one. I would select it, go to export here, and then export the CSV file. Now I'm going to do it for just this current page because I don't want all of my products on that list, and I'm going to export it as a CSV file. I will explain more about this because there's a few very important points that I want to tell you about, little glitches that I've run into with the CSV files that are created this way. But suffice it to say, you would just hit this export. It has exported 2 products. That CSV file you would find here in your downloads folder. I had done one earlier, and then this is the one that I just did. So I'll explain more in an upcoming lesson. For now, we're going to end this lesson. In the upcoming lessons, what we're going to do is take a look at how to create the mockups, how to create multiple mockups, and how to create the download file that will need to be attached here for the client to download. Okay, so I'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to start working on our mockups. Hi guys, welcome to lesson 2. So this is the lesson that we're going to work on mockups. So I'll give you as many tips and tricks as I know. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and start creating my mockups, but I want to point out a couple of things that you need to consider at this point. So for the purposes of this course, I'm just going to do 2 different sizes of files, 5 by 7s and 10 by 10s. And it's really important that when you are putting together your descriptions that you're including with each of your products, that you're super clear about what the customer is going to get. So I would include this kind of information, 5 by 7, 300 dpi, high resolution, and in JPEG format. JPEG is a very common format, so it's a good idea to use either that or perhaps a PDF. Make use of those 2 types of formats. And then I would explain very clearly that each JPEG file is a high resolution file which will get clean and clear, beautiful prints if printed at the same size or close. And then a caveat, enlarging is not recommended and will return poor results. Also, very important, and we'll go over this a little bit later when we're talking about that written description, very important to include the fact that the customer will not be receiving a physical product, that the download is the product. Now, another thing, if you are possibly going to be using a spreadsheet to upload your products, and you may want to, if you've got, even for myself, this amount of products, I wouldn't want to individually be uploading these into my Shopify store, for example. I would want to create a spreadsheet to do this. And I know I'm going to do it because I've got hundreds of products that I'm going to be showing and selling as digital. And I've got very many different proportions that I have that I sell. First of all, I'm going to focus on the regular 5x7 greeting card proportion and the square sort of proportion that I produce. But my research on Etsy showed me that a lot of people are selling greeting cards already laid out with a back, so that if the customer buys, for example, a pre-folded cardstock, I know Avery sells a very nice one. I've purchased a couple of different brands. A lot of people are selling them like this with the back on them. I already have this artwork existing in front and back form, so it won't be too hard for me to include that. For this course, I'll probably just focus on this and the square. Now, the other thing I want to point out that is super, super important if you're going to be using a CSV file is that this, the way it's named right now, should stay exactly the same. If you change anything, or if you're going to change anything, change it now. You can't change it once you have created the CSV file, because this is how the file will call up the artwork that you're using. And of course, you're going to have these artworks as part of your listing, and you're probably going to have the mock-ups. So you would have a mock-up as well. You're going to have to save those as JPEGs. So these are right now all PSD files. I'm going to be showing you saving them out as JPEGs. And again, you're going to want to make absolutely sure that you do not change the name of the artwork that you create, because this is how the CSV file would locate it. It's also just easier for you if you are doing some kind of inventory. Again, inventory is something that a CSV file is used for. When you download, let's say, a list that shows you what you have sold, it will be in the format of a CSV file. All right. Okay, so let's get into the mock-up, and let's make, I think I'm going to use this mock-up here. I've got quite a few different ones, but this is the one that I want to use for my mock-up. So remember that with mock-ups, you will have a smart object, and I made this mock-up, so I will be able to include this free with your course materials. If you'd like to use it, you're most welcome to do so. I would just ask that you replace the background with some kind of another texture, and then what you do is double click on the smart object. And if you see over here, what I've done is I've pulled out all of my 5x7 artwork, and I have it on this PSB file already. So you know it's the linked file because up here it says PSB. I could turn off the layers that I don't want and turn on the layer that I want to export. All right, so I'm going to choose this one here for now. So at this point, I hit save and I go back to my greeting card, and you see it just flipped into that artwork. Now what I would do is just save this out. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. In my 5x7s folder, I'm going to make a new folder called 5x7 Mockups. Now I know that the artwork that I just used was this Friendship Shenanigans. I want it to have the exact same name and artwork file number, which is this first number that I use, and I'm going to add 5x7 here. Okay, now I'm going to click into that folder, and I've saved it out. So now I've got a copy of this as a JPEG. You can open this up. Let's take a look. This is the mockups folder. Double click on it, and there's my JPEG saved. And this is the flattened version. Okay, so it's not the original. It's not this one here. It's my new version. Okay, so let's turn that one or close that one. And then I would go through and do that for all of my cards. The other thing that I would do is the square version of that artwork. So here's my 10x10, and I know it doesn't really go with that greeting card, and I probably will, when I do this for real, find a bunch of mock-ups that really work well together, but I'm going to use this one for now just to demonstrate. Basically the same idea. Find your smart object, double click on your smart object, open up your file that you're going to be using. I'm going to be using this artwork that's in the square proportion. Then what I'll do is select all and paste it here. And this is a really good example of something I normally wouldn't do. I would make sure that I have all that artwork pre-sized and ready to go. So I'm going to go back and open that one up again. So this should have been the same size as the document, so 10 by 10 by 300. Now when I copy it and go back to the document, save it, and then here it is in our frame. One of the cool things about this particular mock-up, just a little aside here, is that you can actually move all these different things around. If you don't like one, you can just turn it off. So that's a fun thing with mock-ups. If you shop around, find something that really works with your greeting card layout, just so that they're all kind of similar. One of the things I could do is just recolor the background on this one a little bit, and that would give me a better match to the greeting card. And right here, add a new layer, sample the color from your other one, sample this color here. It comes up in my colors, go back, I can fill, and then just make sure that this shows through the texture that they've got there. Go a little bit more teal on that. That works a lot better for the two of them together. So I would save that out. Decide whether you want to have it displayed in this proportion. Whatever you decide to do, save it. I would also save it as a JPEG. And since we've already created this mockup folder here, within that I'm going to put upload finished mockups. And this particular one I will obviously name the same, which is 810 Friends Shenanigans and a 10 by 10, just so all of this is clear when I'm putting together my listing. All right, so that's basically all there is to it with your mockups. Again, what I would have done with this mockup is to have a bunch of layers with the different artworks on here, or I would have figured out an automation process. I covered this really extensively in one of my other courses, how to replace the artwork on a mockup. In that course, I did a test and I ran a file of 100 different artworks. It took less than 5 minutes to replace the artwork on the mockup with the artwork that I wanted. If you're feeling up to the challenge of learning a new skill, that is another really excellent thing to learn, is how to automate processes like making your mockups. So check out that class. I'll leave a link in the course materials. So now that we've got our mockups made, let's move on into the next lesson. And in that lesson, we're going to review the written description that we're going to use with our product. All right? Okay, I'll see you in that next lesson. Guys, welcome to lesson 3. In this lesson, I just want to show you how to grab that CSV file and use it to help you upload multiple items. And I had a lot of trouble with Shopify not accepting my CSV file, and it took a lot of investigating for me to figure out, and I found it somewhere buried deep in help files and forums on Shopify. There seems to be some kind of a glitch with just straight downloading the CSV file and opening it in Excel. They suggest to open it in Google Sheets. And so Google Sheets is something you can open and use online. So there's the link to the main Google Sheets page. There's the free online version. And if you are using Google Chrome, you can just click on the apps in the upper left-hand corner here, and you can access Sheets here. Now here you can start a new spreadsheet, an untitled spreadsheet. Here's a bunch of my old ones, and here I'll give you an example of what my spreadsheets look like. So if you were to scroll through this, you would see every single one of my products. This looks very intimidating, and I think this is just my cards actually. I can see this is just my cards, my note cards and my greeting cards. And when I first opened a file like this, I was just boggled. I did not know how to handle it, and it took a lot of research, a lot of experimenting, and I finally figured out how to create this. And I'm so glad that I did, because in the long run, it actually really saves you a lot of time. I've got several different ones, obviously covering all of my different product lines that I carry in my store. And a couple of these other ones are just kind of housekeeping things, that places where I used to work, things I used to do. Kind of funny, you go back through time looking at this. Anyhow, I'm going to open up this blank, and here I'm going to hit open. I'm going to go to my own computer. I'm going to go to my downloads folder where I had placed that CSV file and click on it. hit open, it's going to upload it here. It's only going to have those two products, but the beauty of this is that having now opened it, it's got all of the categories that I need here. So everything that's important that needs to be on the sheet is listed here. So if you've ever used spreadsheet programs, you know that you can make adjustments to the columns if you need to see them a little bit better. You can work right here and just use the browser version. Personally, I like exporting it into an Excel file because I find that I have a lot more control. It's just a little bit easier to work with. So I'm just going to hit download here, and let's go back to that downloads folder. And you can see here it has the .xlsx extension, which means that this is now an Excel file. So in my Excel, I'm now opening the copy that was saved through Google Sheets. Believe me, you guys, this is saving you a lot of time just having somebody tell you this and not having to go through the agony of trying to figure out why your file won't work. So the most important things here to point out to you are the handle and the title. The handle is what makes the sheet work. So it's kind of the stuff that's going on in the background. The title is what will be seen in the Shopify app. And of course, the body text is your descriptive text that will be in your Excel file. We don't need to change anything here because it has downloaded from that single product that you did create. So everything that is necessary is on here. So the most important things that you need to know are this, the source of the image, the body text, the title, and the handle. So we'll go through that a little bit more in detail after we've created the images that we're going to use. These are the images that I used for those two products that I had, okay? And this link is incredibly important to do correctly so that your downloads will work. So we're gonna go through that step by step in one of the upcoming lessons. I just wanted to give you an overall heads up and let you know that doing one of these files is actually easier than you would think. I will see you in the next lesson. Hey guys, welcome to lesson 4. This lesson is going to be all about writing an effective description, all right? Let's get started. Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to focus on writing the creative description that we want to add to our product. I want to reiterate how important it is that you include any question that the buyer might ask in the listing description. Selling digital downloads, the biggest con that I see is that people don't necessarily read all of the details that you put in. I suggest that within the description and title, you put in as much information as possible. I add digital download to the title. Also, within the text, I reinforce that more than once. So I repeat that information. What I'm going to put and add into mine is that it's a greeting card or an art print. Then immediately after, I'm going to add that there's no physical product that will be shipped. I also want to make it really clear that the envelopes, the frame, and the props are not included. Then I'm going to list what is included. So I'll have 4 different sizes included in the file, a 5x7, 10x10. I'll probably include another common size like 4x6 for the note cards and possibly 8.5x11 because that's a very common size that home printers will do. Then I'm going to give the details about the file, which is that it is a JPEG and that it's high resolution. Personally, I think what I'll do is I'll save out all of my JPEGs also as PDFs so that I can include PDFs as well, just in case some people are unfamiliar or unable to use or open the JPEG. Almost every computer will open a PDF, so that's just making it easier in the long run to not run into problems. Then I'm going to give some details on how to order and tell the customer they just need to put it in their shopping cart and place the order, and that once the payment has cleared, the download will come either under the purchases and reviews section in Etsy or as a download link in their email or whatever other means you plan to use. Those are the 2 that I know I'm going to use. You could use any other means that is available through your commerce website. It's really that simple. I want people to know that that's how it works. And this might even be another area or spot where you explain that they will not receive an item in the mail. And I want to add that my mission is to provide a less expensive version of my original illustration and designs, quality information, and then the printing information. So as far as the printing goes, I want them to know that if they print at home, that the colors may slightly vary from how they appear on the screen because of calibration with the monitor, and that really clear saturated color and fine detail is a result of using really good quality stock. I suggest that they look for something that says presentation paper or a coated stock. Again, reiterating that this is an instant download, and then suggestions for places that they might be able to take and have their image professionally printed. I think here I'm going to add copy to flash drive just to make it easier and give them more information. Now, another couple of things that I wanted to point out here is that you should have a refund policy. My personal refund policy is that it is non-refundable because there's no way that I can know whether they've printed it or not. So literally they buy the design and that's it. And then kind of terms of use, that it is my copyrighted artwork, that they can't reproduce it to sell it. It's not something that they can, for example, print off and then take to a craft sale and sell 50 copies of. I've literally seen that happen, so that's something that I want to make very clear. You could actually add a license agreement that is a download. It's unlikely that people will necessarily read it or download it, but it covers you just in case and gives you legal footing if you ever want to sue anybody. So then at this point, I'm going to copy all this. I'm going to take it into my listing. And remember, I had added that little descriptive text there. I'm going to put this new text below, and I would double check everything. For example, here I've got in my first paragraph, no printer, question mark, take it to your local Staples, Office Plus, or UPS store. And then I'm going to add C below just to be sure that they read all of this information. Here's hoping anyways. So I can take this heading off and then go through and just format the way you see fit. Probably take out some of these extra spaces in here. If you're using Shopify, make sure you save in the upper right hand corner here. And actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to copy this entire listing and I'm going to put it into my Etsy listing. And this is where you would save down here at the bottom, save as draft. Now I haven't got everything else filled out here, so it's not allowing me to save at the moment. I need to put all the rest of this information in. Okay, so then the next task is to write those incredibly useful tags. So that's what we're going to do in the next lesson. We'll go over my pointers and industry standards for creating those meta tags. So I will see you there. Hey guys, welcome to lesson 5. So in this lesson, we're just going to touch briefly on how to create really effective tags for your artwork. Let's get started. In Shopify, this is where I would enter my tags, but what tags to enter? Now here are a bunch of tags that I've used in the past, which is one thing nice about Shopify, but what is the importance of this tag? The goal for creating really good meta tags is for people to be able to find you and to find your content. The meta tags can describe your product and make you easy to find. Depending on how many you are allowed, you can enter anything that you think of that could work to have people find what you're selling. In this case, I would obviously add teacher. So let's look at this list. Teacher, best teacher, teacher appreciation, probably digital download. I might add colors, maybe favorite teacher. One of the things I've learned to do to help myself out in this case is it's really easy to just have a mental block when you're actually entering all this information in. I have actually created a spreadsheet with all of my tags on it. Now, the good thing about this is if you've got something that's really repetitive, like for example here, friendship, or thinking of you, special occasions. You've got all of your tags here, select them all, copy them, and take them in. This particular sheet was prepared for, I think, Greeting Card Universe, and they require an asterisk between the different tags if you want to list them all at once. So I've done one here with a comma between each tag, and you'll see that when I drop it in here and hit return, they've all come in separately here. Okay, so that's a little pointer to remember. Now, I think I've hit the maximum amount of tags allowed here. Depending on the requirements of your e-commerce site or your Etsy shop, you may be limited. So think carefully about these tags, because this is how you are going to be found in search engines. Now, if you're looking for reference, I have found tons of reference online when looking for ideas for meta tags. So you can look it up and you may be able to find some great ideas in some of this reference material here. This is my site on Greeting Card Universe, and the format that they use is this. They always specify the occasion or the main category. They describe who it is for in the next tag, and then the type of card. So in this case, this is a general card. You might have one that's specifically from stepdaughter or something like best dad. If you think of this when you are putting together your meta tags, it'll be really helpful. To help you visualize it a little bit better, I've opened up one of my cards here in the Greeting Card Universe website. So here would be the keywords that I would have imported from that document of mine. So I've got type of sentiment, who it's for, a few other descriptive notes here. Here I would change this to green, yellow, soft green. So that describes the card with words that are not necessarily going to be in these categories that I select down here. So if I was to go into here to select the category, then in this case it was a birthday card, I'd go into birthday. So just keep in mind those words, birthday. In this case I could choose for dad is on here somewhere. So in this case maybe for him, general for him. A different thing here, birthday. I think there's one that says family. Oh, this one's hilarious. For sperm donor. Ouch. But let's just say that's what we're going to put in here. Anyways, these are the kind of words that you should be thinking of when you're putting in your tags. Now here's another trick for finding some really cool keywords. Go into a site like Shutterstock and type in greeting card and take a look at some of the related keywords that are put up here. They may not be appropriate to your design, but this gives you an idea of what people add as keywords. All right, just another quick idea. I hope that's been helpful. Next lesson, what I'm going to do is just review quickly how to package your digital files and get them ready for uploading and having available for customers to download. All right, so I'll see you in that next lesson. Hey guys, welcome to lesson 6. In this lesson, we're going to talk about organizing your downloads and then actually attaching them to the different listings. And I'm going to show you an example in Shopify and in Etsy. All right, let's get to it. Before we start with the uploading of the files, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping in here to make it a lot easier for myself. One of the things I have not done yet is to identify the size of the file. And you'll probably notice that let's say 810 here, which is the one I'm going to be working with, has nothing identifying what the shape or size is. All right, so that's one of the things I need to do. So the fastest way that I've found to do this is to rename all the files that are within the particular folder. Decide on what you want to name it or how you want to make the change. Then pick something that is in the name of the artwork that is repeated all the way down. And it's obvious to me that the best way to make the change is to grab the file extension, copy it, and then go under the settings here to rename the 13 items. And instead of the .jpeg, I want to replace it with space 5x7.jpg. What that will do is add that to the end of all of these. So I'm going to hit rename, and you can see now that they are all listed as 5x7. For this particular set, I would do the same thing, but instead of putting 5x7 here, I would put folding 10x7. Make sure you put the space at the very beginning, hit rename, and now all of these say folding 10x7. I would do the same thing with my 10x10s. In this case, I just have the one. If I had a whole list, I would use the renaming here. And here I might put something like square 10x10. So now I've got my artworks all ready to be uploaded. And to the Etsy site, it's not a problem because you can actually choose up to 5 files. So here you would hit upload and drive to your assets folder and grab all the different ones that you want. Now, personally, I would find it easier if I had made a folder here that was specifically for that artwork. I would put all the versions of that artwork in there, and now they're all in one place. Now, this will be important for me too when I do the upload to Shopify, because there I'm only allowed to upload one file. So I'll show you that in a minute. But for now, let's go back to the Etsy listing. Now we can go to that folder. All 3 of our items are here. Click choose, and you'll see that all of these are added to my digital download. All right. Remember that this is just what the client is downloading. Or you can see here on my square that somehow I didn't get that space in there. Oh well, I'll go back and do that again. But you don't want to upload the actual mock-ups in there. You just want to upload the actual art that you want them to download. So here in my Shopify store, I'm going to just add the artwork that we're currently working on. I'm going to pop in our descriptive text. Of course, I would rewrite that first paragraph to reflect this artwork. Go down and put in my prices. I would pop in my SKU that I made up, check off that continue selling when out of stock. I'm going to set my stock as very high again, uncheck this physical product here. And of course I would go through and put in all my tags and whatnot. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to go back to my products here. So obviously here I didn't add my mock-up and stuff, so that stuff I would have done. Let's do that actually real quick. So there's my 2 example files, and let's go back to the products list, and we're going to be editing this one only. If you had a whole bunch to do, this would make it easy. You could just click on a whole bunch at the same time, and this is where you would, let's just make sure I have this as a digital download. And then here in the More Actions tab is where I would go to that app that we installed to add the digital attachment. But in this case, Shopify only allows you to select one file, okay? So I'd have to go to where I created that file with all of my different downloads ready, and I would right click on it or with my control key or whichever way you do it, and I would compress that file to create a zip file for the customer to download. So this might be something you'd have to add into the instructions, how to unzip a file. And then I'll go back to upload the file, find that zip file, click open, and it will attach all of them together in this zip file. Remember that all of your description is still included for the customer here. This is my listing now, and I saw in my last step there that I had accidentally put $21. I've changed that, gone through and made sure that all my other settings are correct, made sure that my quantity is high, and that I've taken the check mark from in front of this is a physical product. Let's take a look at this in my online store now. I want to give it a test run. So this is the one that I was working on. Looks like everything is there. I can see that both of my mock-ups are there, and I'm going to just add it to the cart, go through to the payment. In my Shopify store, the digital downloads app would take my customer to this spot where they could immediately download. Let's just check out my email though. I want to check this out as well. So I got the payment. Woohoo! Just made $2. And then here in my email is the link that I could go to. So I could click on that. If I was the customer, it would take me here where I would hit download now. This will download it to my computer. Let's check it out. And sure enough, I have received that download file fair and square. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited about this. I think that will be kind of fun. And as long as I figure out some really good automation processes to create my mockups and to create my end files, I think I could do this quite quickly. I teach a class on those processes. The last lesson is all about creating a script that will help you create all the files really quickly. The first lesson is a really good review on the smart object, and preparing the artwork files in lesson 2 tells you how to make a file folder of consistent artwork sizes. So this class could really help you in this process. I would strongly suggest that you check it out if you're going to be doing this for lots and lots of downloads, like hundreds. This will make your process a lot faster and easier. All right, so I'll talk to you guys in the next lesson. We're just going to wrap things up, and yeah, I'll see you there. Hey guys, welcome to lesson 1. So in this lesson, what I plan to do is give you an overview of this course and give you an idea of all the different factors that you have to consider. All right, let's get started. So the biggest question for you when you're starting out is whether or not to use an already established marketplace website or to create your own website or store using Shopify, Squarespace, Big Cartel, or any other of the platforms that are available. So what is the difference exactly? You're going to find a ton of information online about this, but I can tell you a couple of things from personal experience. I have my own store. This is it. On my site, I have been selling home decor items, greeting cards, note cards, all of the things that I physically make or have made through a POD site. So that's kind of cool, right? I have all of the control over this site. I'm the person who puts all the products in. There are no rules to follow. This is my store. So anything goes when it comes to what I want my site to look like and what I want to have go into it. All right. So that's pretty cool. And that is definitely one of the pros of having your own online shop. But I'll tell you, there are some drawbacks. First of all, there are no built-in customers. So I literally have to be the one to market this site myself, to drive customers to it, and to do all of the maintenance, all of the customer service, and take care of everything to do with the collecting of money, orders, all that kind of stuff. It's all me. And what's my return on that? Well, I can tell you that from my website, I make probably 1/10 of my whole monthly income. So that's a little bit sobering. You know, when I think about all of the time that I've spent creating the site, creating all of the Excel documents and spreadsheets that I need for it, loading in all of my products, all of these products that are listed here, I had to individually load. I had to create all of the mock-ups for, and I have to do all of the record keeping. So it's all me. And it is months of work to really load up your store with all of your product. Okay. So the difference between that and, let's say, Etsy is that they have a built-in fan base already. So you can open a store and you have access to the millions of customers that shop Etsy every year. They market, they promote, they handle all the logins, all the payments, the file delivery. So honestly, if I wanted to give you some really frank advice, if you're starting out, absolutely new into this, I would suggest you start with something like an Etsy shop. Zazzle is another place where I do a lot of selling, and I've started to focus a lot more of my energy here. And why? This is why. Check out the earnings I had, and this was mainly in November and December of this year. Actually, 90% of it was in December, and wow, look at this figure here. So in December, look at the dates here, and you can see that I made a pile of money just from the Zazzle website. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. My store has all of my latest products. I have collections. I can offer so many different products and literally upload one artwork that can be used for all of these different items. And a customer comes in and orders it. I have absolutely nothing to do with it. The order is placed, the order is sent to the customer, and all I have to do is pull out that money that I've made in the middle of the next month. So if I had to recommend, or if I had to do over again, I probably wouldn't even open my own Shopify store. I'm going to keep it going because I do have sales through there, and I'm hoping that with some of this downtime, I can do a lot more promoting and hopefully build up that fan base that I need in order to actually make it successful. So that being said, if you are already very popular on social media, if you have products that you sell like crazy or have people wanting to buy from you, then perhaps your own personal store would be a good idea. I know of artists who are super successful that way and have really great stores. So it is something that you definitely have to think through for yourself and decide whether it's worth it. The other thing that I should point out is that a Shopify store does cost every month to run. I don't exactly recall how much I'm paying per month. I think it's about $30 a month to keep the store operating. But, that's something that you need to think about, is whether or not you want to spend money every month to keep the store open, and plus the upkeep on it. Just remember that you can't spread yourself too thin because your main goal is to create the artwork, right? So good luck with that decision. In the next lesson, we're going to take a look at some of the other ins and outs. See you there. Great, I'm so happy that you've made it to the end. So I think you know the ins and outs of what you have to do, right? So most sellers start with very simple and very inexpensive products. That's probably a really good starting point for you to test the market and see how your product will do. It's also a good way to get a hang for how to actually set up that listing and upload your digital files. Once you get the hang of it, then upload a whole bunch of files. Maybe experiment with doing a CSV file to make it easier. Both Etsy and Shopify will accept a CSV file to upload your products. Once you have a bunch of listings, then maybe try out selling bundles of your product to see if that increases your sales at all. Don't forget to promote how easy it is to use and how inexpensive it is for the customer. What you want is repeat traffic, right? You want to get them back there into your store, buying again and again. And if you feel so inclined, maybe produce a short video that shows how your product is used. Make sure you include helpful instructions as well. And go back through all of your old work and see what you can sell, and just beef up that store as much as you can in the next few weeks. If you're curious about digital downloads and wondering whether or not it is a good idea, whether you're going to make money at it, is it something that really sells, check out this site called Craft Count. You can go to the daily top sellers and check out how they rank and how many sales they've made. And then you can go to actually check out the top sellers by summary, which is really cool. Look at this one, 965,000 sales. Wow. Then check out the top sellers by country just to see the competition. I just had to do this. I wanted to check and see in Canada who is super popular. And you can see from these listings that there are some very high sellers. Now, if you go by category here, you can check and see digital art and the rankings for some of the different companies that are providing digital art online through their Etsy shop. So it's cool to compare and look at these statistics, because I think this tells you that it is definitely worth it to consider. If you're looking for more information about the whole process of using a CSV file, please print out the attached files. I've got some additional instructions there and some resources for you.